Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Well, as usual, we have a lot of questions, and today we're going to go through variables and relationships, among other things. So I shall get right onto it, and we'll begin with the first question from Tony. And Tony says, I am a 4/6 MG sleeping phoenix, quad right emotional solar plexus 59/6 and hanging individual circuit 55. I'm 56 years old and I'm only just now understanding my chart in a way that is not superficial. I wish I knew sooner about quad right. I have never fit in and always do things different than what the system is in place. I'm like Teflon to organization and all sorts of things that come easier to others despite all my efforts to try to be different. So many people have tried to retrain me and it's frustrating for them, for me and them. I feel with only just now finding out and understanding the nature of quad right, I finally have an explanation of why I am the way I am, and I must accept it. That's actually a relief and good. I can make peace with the past and move forward with knowing now. My chart is very psychic and low on tribal, but my question is, with being quad right, does that make me more susceptible to being influenced and caught up with what other people are thinking and talking with all that receptivity? It seems I am swayed by whoever is making a point and has an opinion easily, and only later do I process and form an opinion. I don't want to get swept up in things that are not right for me. I do use my feeling sense, and I can tell when something is wrong or off. But if I'm with a salesperson or hearing a quite logical argument, I'm caught up in it because I can see so many points of view, and most everyone can express something that makes sense. And most things aren't an extreme and blatant yes, or no, or bad, or good energy. My degree is in philosophy. I know there's always a little bit of truth to everything. I also know that some things can be completely false, but that's not the majority of the time. How do I strategize to remain aware and I suppose protect myself from being too easily gullible or influenced? I can't always have another person with me who has that filled in or whatever leftness they can bring to the situation and explain to me the left side of interpreting. Ideally, I could wait to respond, but with being so open, it's not appropriate for general conversation about feeling into, is it right or not right, or is it yes or no when it's just conversational. I think maybe it's also a reason people like me and like talking to me so much, because I am present with them and I see their point of view and can articulately reflect it back to them with no resistance, typically. Then they are so surprised later when I come back with what I really think, like I duped them or something, as if I agreed with them initially. It's awkward. I'd very much appreciate your help navigating being so receptive and passive, please. Okay, Tony, thank you for the question. And I chose your question because I wanted it to be an example. And I wanted it to be an example of how it's very common to find something about human design and go, that's it. You know, that explains everything. When, in fact, it doesn't. You must be aware of trying to find an answer for what's going on with you and assume you're going to be correct without the proper training, because you're just going to get confused, as in this case. So I'm going to leave the quad right to one side right now and just look at the chart itself. You're a manifesting generator. You've got awareness in the now. You've also got a tribal channel. It's not, I'm low on the tribal. You've got the most creative channel there is. It's the channel of mating. This is one of the reasons why people like you, because you can penetrate any aura with this. It's a tribal thing. They feel like they've known you for ages. You know, it's something that is built into the channel, nothing to do with being quad right. The reason, if you like, or more likely reason that you become so gullible, as you say, and take on people's ideas in the moment and then disagree with them later, is because of the way the ajna is. You've got the 47, which can make sense of almost anything in its own way. And you've got a logical gate and a gate of opinions. You're here to filter the opinions of others. You have an open mental system to take in the ideas of others. But the reflection has to go on with the 47. And the emotional clarity doesn't come in the now. It takes time for it to come through. So it's very normal and correct for you to not make an immediate decision about something being right or wrong, good or bad, or whatever. Even though you can philosophize that, well, you know, everything's got a bit of this and that in it. This is the point of it being a science, because you are actually operating correctly in the sense that you're experiencing this. It's just you're getting upset about it and thinking there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. It really all comes down to the fundamental thing about human design. Follow your strategy and authority. Wait to respond to something. And if you've responded to it, then feel into it over time. That's it. That's it. If you look as if you're agreeing with them in the moment, well, you're taking it in. You're taking everything in. And this is where the right comes in. You are taking everything in. You can't stop taking it in. But you don't actually know what you know until people pull it out of you. Or if you've had time to reflect and in the conversation, then you realize that actually you don't agree with them. It's fine. You don't have to agree with everyone. In fact, you're here to pinpoint, you know, in the opinions that you're taking in, whether it can fit with you or not. The 14th gate is there to empower people who are going into a journey to find themselves, to empower that creative side, to empower a new direction, to empower something beautiful coming into the world. So that, along with your integration gates, you know, can be very empowering. You know, you don't want to upset people. You know, you don't want to upset people. At the same time, you don't have any truth in the now, and you have to wait. And the other thing about it is the 3420, and I should know because I've got it as well, is, you know, pretty powerful. I mean, it's incredibly powerful. It's a manifesting generator channel. It will push things. It will rise in its power when someone's trying to intimidate you. It's there for your own survival. Nothing wrong in it. The 27-4 in the sacral is very nurturing and can be a very generous and caring gate. Another reason why people like you, because you can be very generous, perhaps too much sometimes. Perhaps you're not looking after yourself enough in that sense, but that's part of your nature, and that's also tribal. So you've got almost the complete defense circuit with the 59-6 and the 27. There's only one gate missing. So you need to rethink that you're low on the tribal. You're actually pretty strong in the tribal. And the tribe wants, you know, are you with me or against me? Are you on my side or not? You know, this is what the tribe want to know. Is the loyalty or treachery? This is part of your makeup, which is why you can get very upset when they get upset about you changing your mind about what you thought about what they said. So you've got to really look at the chart in terms of the surface. It's the surface we live it at. And don't get too lost in all the variable and too lost with what's underneath the line. This information wasn't really designed to come out for people until they'd been in their process for 7 years. But because everybody shares everything that they can find on the internet, this kind of confusion arises. And levels are mixed, and answers are found that aren't really answers because of a lack of understanding of the whole thing. So let's keep it on the surface, and let's keep on really what is in your chart rather than what's underneath it to begin with. And you don't need someone with left in them to, you know, to be strategic and to help sort things out for you. You're a single definition. You're very independent. You know, there's a natural independence in you because all the centers that you have colored in are actually joined up. So that's an advantage. It's not an advantage being quad right and being emotional if someone wants you to agree with them in the moment because you just don't know. And yes, when you are in conversation with someone, you have the gate of articulation in the 12th gate. You have the 20th gate that can be very amusing, but also can really pinpoint with the 5720, can really pinpoint in the now when something's off. It's a matter of acoustics. It's a matter of hearing the intonation in their voice. This is one of these gifts that you have. And you can also really be enthusiastic or not about something with the 16th gate in there. This is all at the gate level in your chart. And your question, how can I strategize to be more aware at the moment so that I don't get too gullible and buy things from salespeople that I don't really want? You're not here to be strategic. Now we come to the quadrite. You're not here to be goal-orientated. You're not a strategist in that sense. You're here to take everything in. Your feeling cognition that you mentioned is important also. It's the aura going out there, melding with what's around you. It's an incredible cognition to have if you allow time for it to process. So the biggest thing that's getting in your way is basically being in too much of a hurry. And we can see why you're in too much of a hurry, because you have an open root system that wants to kind of get over the stress and just get on with it, and then you can relax, and then you can relax, and then you can relax. But you never quite get there because you're busy all the time thinking that you should be doing this, that, and the other. So really, you need to calm down, look at things on the surface. The rightness is about taking everything in and then people being able to draw it from you. The whole point of human design is really to embrace who you are, but you need to get the levels of the information in a correct order, in a way that you can access them. And you haven't learned enough about the system is really the truth of it. And trying to grab onto an answer and say that explains everything. No, you're not always going to fit into everywhere because of the individuality in your integration. It won't let you. Your tribe might go, well, I'd like to belong to them, but, they get in my way when I want to do what I want to do. So my advice is to really try and find out more about the surface, and don't worry too much about being a quadrite. It is, after all, something that we shouldn't really be talking about at this point with the information you have. And an answer isn't really going to do it for you. It's a very special thing to have 4 arrows pointing to the right. But you have to decondition and calm down and see that you have a passive body, and see that you take everything in, and make sure that you get yourself in the right environment for yourself. That would help a lot. Now, that would help a lot. Again, because you have an open G center, and where you are is very important. So perhaps you're in the wrong place. Something to consider. Something on the surface to consider. Being on the surface isn't a mundane thing. It's a very crucial part of human design. That's why we learn it from the centers and then into the gates and into the channels. It's like things go in an order so that you can build the knowledge until you're ready to take on the extra level, and then in the next level, then the next level. So it's just a confusion because you've got too many bits and pieces. All right, that's all I've got time for. Quite a long question and quite a long answer, but I wanted to use it as an example because I know there are a number of people, you're not the only one, who's getting lost with this, that, and the other. It's and grabbing onto things. Slow down, go back to basics, build from there. That's my advice. And thank you for the question, so I could address that. Good. Having said all that, we now have 2 more questions related to the variable. And the first question is from Marco Polo, believe it or not. And their question is, hi, Richard, my variable is PLL-DRL. Ra said about this variable quadrant PL-DR that it's about the past and that people born in this section are not part of the future. Can you explain what he meant? It's difficult to understand. Thank you. And Chaliza 74 says, I have this variable too. I think Ra said that this quadrant are out of the flow and will be left behind by society. I'm also a projector, so struggle to understand how I should operate correctly in a left life, i.e. busy, active life, but with limited energy resources. It's a balance I have not yet mastered and have been prone to burnout. Would love to hear your thoughts on this, Richard. Okay, so about the past and the future. We have come from a seven-centered way of looking at things from a strategic point of view, from a survival point of view. This is what the left is all about. It's about focusing on the survival, focusing on getting through the life. What's the strategy? What's the goal? What do I do? But the future is going to be different. The future is about taking in. The future is about being receptive. This is what the rave is all about. They're going to be quad right. It's not about their individual survival. It's about their connectivity to a world and a place that very few humans know about. It's about connecting to others in the hive, in this case. It's a bit like if you think of the ants and the way that ants will be directed in to go and fight to the death against the enemies while the queen is safely ushered out of the way. They don't think about themselves. They think about the group. So the left personality is thinking about themselves. They're thinking about the goal. This is the way we have created the society of the winners and the losers that we have now. What's coming is very different, and that's the future, and it's beginning, and there are mutations taking place, and things will change. That's what he meant. But for me to describe that and what that might involve, I don't think it's quite the right time. I want to be able to show you more details before I go into that. The reason Ra said that the left is part of the past is that strategies are all very well when you're in a strategic world, but that strategic world is breaking down. You see things breaking down all the time. And there are times when, you know, there isn't a solution, there isn't a strategy. You've got to be in the not knowing. You've got to be in the openness, the receptivity of what is happening, taking it all in, taking your time. Everyone is in such a rush today, such a rush to get somewhere, such a rush to get to the next goal and get to the next level. You can see it's crazy, and people live in a crazy way because of that. And we're growing out of it. That's all. We're growing out of it. And if society was to change in your lifetime, you'll still be very useful for certain things in terms of your strategy to get things done, perhaps. But it won't be the same kind of society. You know, it'll be more either alone or a different kind of connectivity that doesn't work in goal-orientated ways. And there's a lot to explain about that, which I don't have time to explain. That's what he meant. And again, in the same way that I spoke to Tony, the answer is coming back to your strategy and authority. And Charliza, when you talk about being prone to burnout, yes, you're prone to burnout because you're a projector. Again, keeping it on the surface. You're a projector. You need to be invited into things. You're not here to be doing. You can have an active body without draining yourself if you're around the right people. And it doesn't have to end up in burnout. Burnout comes because you're trying to do too much, too often, and can't get out of that rut. That's when the burnout comes. So again, my advice, let's hold back on the variables. Don't let that confuse you. Don't try and fit a level onto your understanding of your chart until you've mastered the gates and the channels and the centers and the profile. Stay there. That's the way to move forward, is to build up from that. The variables, this is why I don't talk about them very much, because I don't want to confuse people. You're already confused. Just drop it. You know, we didn't have any of that when we began, and I'm grateful for it. We weren't ready, and I don't think you guys are ready either. So let it go. You're going to get bits and pieces from the internet telling you this, that, and the other, without understanding anything about the chains and everything going back to the tone and beyond that, and the bass. It's like, no, drop it. Drop it. One last thing I will say before leaving the variable: if you both have PLL, DRL, then there's only one right variable. And it's usually that one that causes all the problems with the mind. It's the one thing that is different from the other three things. So not designed to have this active mind. Active body, yes. Strategic mind, goal-orientated view, yes. But not here to have an active mind. So you're thinking about, like, what, you know, how do I strategize this? And it's always going to be an issue if you think that way, because you're not designed to do it that way. Allow it to come out of you. Allow it to come out of you. Don't think of it as a problem. You know, human design isn't designed to be a problem. It's designed to be a help. And yet, if the information isn't grounded in the proper detail, it can become problems for people, because they will obsess over something that they think is wrong. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. The only thing that's wrong in your life will be the conditioning. The form itself, the design, is unique and wonderful, full of potential. It's not wrong. It's a real advantage in many ways at this time to have what you have. I mean, there's a lot of left stuff still to come. We're not changing society that drastically at the moment, so I wouldn't worry about it. My same answer: chill. Follow your strategy and authority. Understand that is the way through all of this, all of it, at all levels. Okay, the next question is from Alien in Humanoid Form. And they ask, as many of my fellow humans, I too am occupied with thoughts of relationships and how to use intangible systems to streamline, if not bypass, the tedious and often bruising and confusing process of dating and discarding. Question: do you have any general insights as to where to firstly look at your charts to gauge the chance of romantic compatibility? Electromagnetics, number of defined centers in composite charts, favorable aura type profile pairings, bridging split definitions, etc.? I am, of course, aware that charts can only say as much as the fidelity by which people are living by them, but I hope to hear your opinion, however theoretical it may be. I myself am an emotional manifester, 6'2", triple split, undefined sacral and spleen, left angle cross of confrontation, PLR, DRL. I could go on, but I will spare you. Tentative question 2. Are some people by design better off alone? Okay, so thank you for the question. And again, Ra, you warned us against trying to use human design as a way of finding the perfect partner. You know, he goes, it doesn't work that way. I mean, it doesn't work that way. And do you think I haven't tried? One time I even started a dating service. It didn't last very long. But basically, it's tempting to. I get it. And it doesn't work that way, as you'll see from a question that comes later. It's for you to meet the person that you're going to be in relationship with in the right way. It's to follow your strategy and authority. That's the simple answer. The more complicated answer is, look, if you're a third line like me, yeah, give up trying to find the partner for you. You're going to bump into them, or they're going to bump into you. The direction in your life is going to change unexpectedly because of your profile. Nothing you can do about it. It's not about that. It's about, is there a connection? Is there a connection? And where you've got electromagnetics, it's going to be very attractive, but it's also going to be very repulsive. So people can come together, oh, I want 8 electromagnetics, and they come together and they end up arguing a lot, but really loving each other. I mean, is that a good relationship? I know a couple that came together late in life. They had a child. So together they have an open route. They're both powerful generators, and they both think in different ways. One of them, the 1762, the other one, the 1156. But life could have been interesting because it is a very different point of view. And then they give birth to a child that has a very strong root, a very strong will. So suddenly they're both under pressure. Is that a good relationship? I mean, a relationship can work if you work at it, if it's a 7 and 2. There's no guarantee, is what I'm trying to say. There's no guarantee. There's no way to really work it out. I mean, the people in your life that become your partners, if you're not going in the same direction, you're going to veer off. And often that happens. Often that happens. You go in different directions. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a very fertile relationship when you got together, and maybe for many, many, many years. But we evolve, we move on. If you're both moving in the same direction, you stay in the same direction, and you're both growing in the same direction, great relationship. But it's not very common. It's not very common. So trying to find it through the chart, it's just not going to work. I mean, you can try. I'm sure there's reports and things going out saying your ideal partner is this, that, and the other. Well, good luck with that. I mean, good luck with that. It doesn't work. I'm a third line. I've been through enough experiences to tell you that is not going to work. That is not going to work. You have to be growing together. You have to be able to take the conflict. You have to be able to take the confusion in every relationship. You have to be able to live with difference. And living with difference means that you'll be looking at yourself at the same time. You'll be growing through the different approach of the other. If you come together with companionship channels, it can feel very comfortable. And it can be on the surface like, that's a really successful relationship. But it can get very tedious after a few decades, or less than a few decades. It's not something you can work out logically. That's my view, and that's my experience. Okay, I hope that's been useful. Strategy and authority, for God's sake. Right. Next question. And your tentative question 2, are some people better off living alone? To that, my answer is yes, for multiple reasons. But actually, the answer is yes, some people are. And I'm not going to go into why. But let me just remind you that of the 4 quarters in the wheel, when you look in the wheel, you can see that relationships are primary for those from the quarter of duality. And they're very important, the people. But for the other 3 quarters, relationships are part of their life, perhaps, but not they won't fulfill their life through that. It's not the same thing. And yes, there are certain designs that will do much better living alone. Doesn't mean they can't have friends. Doesn't mean they can't have people in their life. Doesn't mean they can't have lovers. But to live with someone, you have to be open to relating all the time with the same person, much of your time. And not everyone is suited for that. All right, let's move on to the next question. And this is from Hagar. And Hagar asks, I want to raise a topic that I've noticed over the past 5 years. I've done hundreds of charts for hundreds of people. I know all of my life hundreds of people who were and still are my friends or family. Ra and the science of genetics show that if we continue to be drawn to the same thing, we will not progress. I must point out that the friends I am comfortable with and feel safe with and feel they are my true friends are people with a single definition, with the 3420, undefined head and ajna, undefined spleen and solar plex, and most importantly, an undefined ego. See, this is a miracle. Yes, these are the ones who are no different from me, and they feel like heaven to me. And the others, even if we consider them to be my family or friends with whom my time and patience are always short, with whom there is always too much background noise, too much and always. So although the gene pool is supposed to blend and bring us closer to those who are different from us, but I bring contradictory evidence and research, as I wrote here. Just to note, I am neither a mother nor a partner, and all this is by choice. As it turns out, lucky me, that my whole life has been in the HD format. I responded to my sacral, and that all my choices and all my achievements are all thanks to the only truth that exists in the mechanics of the body. Sacral! Thank you in advance if you address the issue of magnetism and attraction. Okay, Haga, it's in terms of magnetics, electromagnetics, they are gates at either end of the channel. If you have the 27th gate and someone else has the 50th gate, there's going to be a connection. There's usually going to be an attractive connection to begin with, but it can also be repulsive because of the nature of the mechanics. So the genes want us to be attracted to what is different from us so that we have children that are different from both parents. That's genetics. Human design cuts through that and goes, don't let your genes run your life. You know, the genes don't care about you. They just care about bringing out difference. So don't let the genes run your life. Operate from strategy and authority. And that's what it's about. Now, if you've operated out of strategy and authority and you're finding people that have the same centers as you to be the ones that you're really comfortable with, of course you will. It's going to feel a lot easier. It's going to feel a lot easier. And there's no harm in that. There's no harm in that. But, you know, the ones that are different will have their pull on you. And again, it's about your own authority, whether you go that way or you don't go that way. No good or bad here. You can't know until you're in the situation to whether there's going to be energy for it or not. And that is what you pay attention to. Ra himself said, you know, I'm more comfortable when I'm with a will person. You know where you stand with those, you know. And if you've ever seen a group of will people standing together or milling about together, you'll see what I mean. It's quite obvious. But it's not the same way as the open wills operate. So yeah, there's the similarity can be comfortable and the similarity can feel good. But again, don't try to use human design as rules. You know, you never know what's around the corner. You never know what's going to move you. And that's what the mystery of the life is really all about. If your inner authority says, I'm going to go for this one, what can you do? Follow the energy. See what happens. We are here to learn in this life, don't forget. We are here to evolve in this life. We are here to move in this life in our own unique way. And nobody can tell you exactly what that's going to look like, especially in terms of relationships. Thank you for the question. So I hope you've enjoyed these round of questions. And if you have, please like, share, and subscribe. And next week, I shall be back with something completely different. See you then. Bye for now.